This video shows how to set up the long range regular receiver item code 951-65 from HolidayCoro with xLights. We will be showing in this video both the HinksPix Pro and the AlphaPix Evolution controllers. First, let's understand how our setup is configured. In this particular first setup, what we're going to do is we are going to hook up this Cat5 cable to the leftmost jack, which in this particular case is wired to ports 1 through 16. It's important to understand that there are 4 jacks. You'll also note that they are all red in color on the inside. These then hook up to a network cable, which then goes to the long range receiver. You can see this cable coming out and then going down. Each of these jacks contains 8 wires or 4 pairs of wires that then go to each receiver. Each receiver has 1 cable. Let's look at where this cable goes out. The orange cable comes into this receiver on this bottom jack and goes through this gray cable into the receiver. There is a second receiver in this configuration that we will not be configuring, and you can see that there is a cap on that particular input. And there we have on the left side, this is the unit we will be configuring. The Cat5 cable comes in and goes in here. Now, the right receiver we will not be using. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and unplug this cable, and you will see again that it is red. Only red connections should go to other red connections, and that indicates that this is long range. You'll also see 4 red lights along the side here. These yellow items are fuses. They're called polyfuses, and they will auto reset if they are blown. The red light will go off if they are blown. There's also a red light in the bottom right corner that indicates there is power being received by the board as a whole. Each of these physical outputs is 1, 2, 3, 4, and they will always be in this order. So this is the first pair of wires in the Cat5 cable, second, third, and fourth, again, equating to a total of 8 cables or wires. Again, we are not going to configure the right side. Okay, so go ahead and plug this back in. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our controller and take a look at the configuration. So if we go up here to the port config, we can see that there are long range expansion ports listed as 1 through 16. Again, you'll see that these are grouped together in groups of 4, and that's because this is jack 1 on the far left and jack 1 on the far left and jack 4 on the far right, and they are not configured. And we also have the AlphaPix Flex. In this particular configuration, we can see that port 1 is set up to output this data. So this is the first jack, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the second jack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then so on. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up our xLights. Now, the first thing in xLights you always have to do is set up your prop or model. So in this particular setup, we're going to use this. So we'll just go ahead and delete that. We're going to say receiver left output 4, and we're going to have 50 pixels. And I'm going to go ahead and just copy that and configure the second one. A little confusing there. There's our second one. We're going to set the second one as output 1. All right, and that just makes it clear which one is which, and you can see 1 and 4. Of course, you do need to configure, of course, the starting location and the number of pixels to the proper real physical world of that particular prop. All right, once we have that configuration, we're going to go over to controllers, and by the way, I am using xLights, and it is version 2025.10, and that's October 2025. Your version of xLights may look ever so slightly different. If this video is no longer valid for this version of xLights or a future version, we will update. All right, so we are configuring the HinksPix Pro version 2, which is right here, and we've just added this. Please see our other videos on how to add controllers into the controllers tab of xLights or to configure their network configuration. That is not covered in this video. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to configure this controller, and we're going to go down to the bottom left and click on Visualize. Now, I do notice that there's a red light down here, so let me just double check to make sure my HinksPix is here and make sure that it is online. Sometimes xLights will report the output as not functional when it is actually functional, and we can see 10, 10, 10, 10. So everything looks good here, so we're going to go back and continue. All right, so we're going to go to Visualize, and this brings up the visualizer configuration. Now, again, if we look back here, what we're going to see is in the HinksPix, we have 1 through 16. And again, those do correspond to the specific jacks. And those also are bracketed with these lines here. You see red, green, blue, and yellow. That's jack 1 on the far left. This is jack 4 on the far right. So configuring is super simple. You just go and find your prop. And in this particular case, we have receiver left, output, and that would be output number 1. And if I put my cursor over this, you can see that the name is receiver left output 1, and I put it on this, which is output 1. All right, and I'm going to put this on output 4. So if I go over here and hover that, it's output 4. And you'll notice that they do not have any other things around them. If these were smart receivers, you would right click them and say smart remote, and you would select this. In this particular case, they are not receivers that are smart, thus they are none. All right, so we have them configured. We just close this box, and we're going to upload the configuration into the controller. What has happened in the background is xLights has gone to the controller and is logged in and configured the entire setup, including DMX channels, universes, into the controller itself. And so what we need to do is now go back to our HinksPix configuration, and we'll wait for this to come back once it has rebooted. All right, we have now returned. The controller has restarted, and we're under port config long range 16, 1 through 16. All right, so what we can see here is that on our jack 1, we have output 1 with 50 pixels and output 2 with 50 pixels, which is a total of 300 channels. The controller has also been configured with the DMX universes. Now, none of this really matters. You should never need to actually go in here and configure any of this. This is just showing you that it is functional. Now we can go into xLights and we can do a test. So we're going to go onto the controller here and select Tools, Test, and we're going to go over to the Models tab, and we're going to locate the particular props in question, which is receiver left output 1. And I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark in it. Now again, I'm on the Models tab. I have output to lights turned on, and I'm in ABC All under RGB cycle. And this is going to make the lights turn red, green, blue, white. And I'm just going to move this speed setting to close to the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on the output here for the camera. And if we look here, what we'll see is here we have output 1, and you can see that we're continuously changing red, green, blue, white, red, green, blue, white. Now, on our other output, you will see that we do not have the lights changing. That's output 4. So let's go ahead and turn that on. So here's output 4, and there are the lights. So we're going to turn this off, go back to xLights, and we're going to turn on receiver output 4. And we can now see that the smart pixels here with the seed pixels, we're now turning red, green, blue, white, red, green, blue, white. So everything is working fabulous at this point. Always use the test mode in xLights to configure and test this. All right, now if you're using an AlphaPix, the same thing will apply. So if you have the AlphaPix Flex, you'll need to make sure that this says Flex, HolidayCoro Flex. And what you'll want to do is, again, go to Visualize, and you'll want to map your pixels. Now, actually, what I'll need to do is I'll need to release these pixels from this controller, because they have now already been assigned over to that controller. And then we'll go back to our AlphaPix here, go back to Visualize, Go down here, and again, on our alpha picks, we are using this differential, and again, it's also set up as 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll go back to our xLights, and we will simply drag those onto the same thing. This is exactly the same part that we did within the Hinks Pix Pro. And then I'll simply drag over here to 4. All right, and we'll go ahead and upload that output. And in just a moment, once the controller's output has been uploaded, we will return and show you that configuration. All right, our controller from the AlphaPix Flex has rebooted, and we can see that xLights has automatically configured the 50 pixels on output 1 and 50 on output 4. Now, you'll notice that there are additional pixels configured on these additional universes. xLights is smart enough to know how to divvy up all of the DMX universes and channels so that this is no concern at all. Now, if you wish to test with this device, you can, of course, also use the xLights test tool, but you can also go down here to Test Configuration and Configured Lights Update, and only for those specific outputs will it output data so that you'll know that those specific outputs are configured. And that concludes this setup. If you have any additional questions, always feel free to reach out to us at holidaycoro.com/contact us.